Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue. Chapter 1. In the spring of 1992, it was around Easter as I recall, an extraordinary phenomenon occurred in my life. God began talking with you, through me. Let me explain. I was very unhappy during that period, personally, professionally, and emotionally, and my life was feeling like a failure on all levels. As I'd been in the habit for years of writing my thoughts down in letters, which I usually never delivered, I picked up my trusty yellow legal pad and began pouring out my feelings. This time, rather than another letter to another person, I imagined to be victimizing me. I thought I'd go straight to the source, straight to the greatest victimizer of them all. I decided to write a letter to God. It was a spiteful, passionate letter full of confusions, contortions, and condemnations, and a pile of angry questions. Why wasn't my life working? What would it take to get it to work? Why could I not find happiness in relationships? Was the experience of adequate money going to elude me forever? Finally, and most emphatically, what had I done to deserve a life of such continuing struggle? To my surprise, as I scribbled out the last of my bitter, unanswerable questions and prepared to toss my pen aside, my hand remained poised over the paper, as if held there by some invisible force. Abruptly, the pen began moving on its own. I had no idea what I was about to write, but an idea seemed to be coming, so I decided to flow with it. Out came, "Do you really want to answer all these questions, or are you just venting?" I blinked, and then my mind came up with a reply. I wrote that down too. Both. I'm venting, sure, but if these questions have answers, I'd sure as hell like to hear them. "You are sure as hell about a lot of things, but wouldn't it be nice to be sure as heaven?" And I wrote, what is that supposed to mean? Before I knew it, I had begun a conversation, and I was not writing so much as taking dictation. That dictation went on for 3 years, and at the time I had no idea where it was going. The answers to the questions I was putting on paper never came to me until the question was completely written and I put my own thoughts away. Often the answers came faster than I could write, and I found myself scribbling to keep up. When I became confused or lost the feeling that words were coming from elsewhere, I put the pen down and walked away from the dialogue until I again felt inspired. Sorry, that's the only word which truly fits to return to the yellow legal pad and start transcribing again. These conversations are still going on as I write this, and much of it is found on the pages which follow, pages which contain an astounding dialogue which at first I disbelieved, then assumed to be of personal value, which I now understand was meant for more than just me. It was meant for you and everyone else who has come to this material. For my questions are your questions. I want you to get into this dialogue as soon as you can, because what's really important here is not my story, but yours. It is your life story which brought you here. It is your personal experience to which this material has relevance. Otherwise, you would not be here with it right now. So let's enter the dialogue with a question I have been asking for a very long time. How does God talk, and to whom? When I ask this question, here's the answer I received. I talk to everyone, all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. Intrigued, I asked God to expand on this subject. Here's what God said. First, let's exchange the word talk with the word communicate. It's a much better word, a much fuller, more accurate one. When we try to speak to each other, me to you, you to me, we are immediately constricted by the unbelievable limitation of words. For this reason, I do not communicate with words alone. In fact, rarely do I do so. My most common form of communication is through feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you're feeling about it. Feelings are sometimes difficult to discover, and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet, hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get those feelings. I will show you how. Again, if you wish. I told God that I did wish, but that right now I wished even more for a complete and full answer to my first question. Here's what God said. I also communicate with thought. Thought and feelings are not the same, although they can occur at the same time. I'm communicating with thought. I often use images and pictures. For this reason, thoughts are more effective than mere words as tools of communication. In addition to feelings and thoughts, I also use the vehicle of experience as a grand communicator. And finally, when the feelings and thoughts and experience all fail, I use words. Words are really the least effective communicator. They are most open to misinterpretation and most often misunderstood. Words allow you to understand something. Experience allows you to know. Yet there are some things you cannot experience, so I have given you other tools of knowing. And these are called feelings, and so too, thoughts. Now the supreme irony here is that you have all placed so much importance on the Word of God and so little on the experience. In fact, you place so little value on experience that when what you experience of God differs from what you've heard of God, you automatically discard the experience and own the words, when it should be just the other way around. Your experience and your feelings about the thing represent what you factually and intuitively know about the thing. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know, and can often confuse what you know. These then are the tools with which I communicate, yet they are not methods, for not all feelings, not all thoughts, not all experience, and not all words are from me. Many words have been uttered by others in my name. Many thoughts and many feelings have been sponsored by causes not of my direct creation. Many experiences result from these. The challenge is one of discernment. The difficulty is knowing the difference between messages from God and data from other sources. Discrimination is a simple matter with the application of a basic rule.
Mine is always your highest thought, your clearest word, your grandest feeling. Anything less is from another source. Now the task of differentiation becomes easy, for it should not be difficult even for the beginning student to identify the highest, the clearest, and the grandest. Yet I will give you these guidelines. The highest thought is always the thought which contains joy. The clearest words are those which contain truth. The grandest feeling is that feeling which you call love. Joy, truth, love. These three things are interchangeable, and one always leads to the other. It matters not in which order they are placed. Having with these guidelines determined which messages are mine and which have come from another source, the only question remaining is whether my messages will be heeded. Most of my messages are not. Some because they seem too good to be true. Others because they seem too difficult to follow. Many because they are simply misunderstood. Most because they are not received. My most powerful messenger is experience, and even you ignore this. Especially this you ignore. Your world would not be in its present condition were you to have simply listened to your experience. The result of your not listening to your experience is that you keep reliving it over and over again. For my purpose will not be thwarted, nor my will be ignored. You will get the message sooner or later. I will not force you to, however. I will never coerce you, for I have given you a free will, the power to do as you choose, and I will never take that away from you ever. And so I will continue sending you the same messages over and over again, throughout the millennia and to whatever corner of the universe you occupy. Endlessly I will send you my messages until you have received them and held them down close, calling them your own. My messages will come in 100 forms, at 1,000 moments, across 1,000,000 years. You cannot miss them if you truly listen. You cannot ignore them once truly heard. Thus will our communication begin in earnest. For in the past you have only talked to me, praying to me, interceding with me, beseeching me. Yet now I can talk back to you, even as I am doing here.
How can I know this communication is from God? How do I know this is not my own imagination?
What would be the difference? Do you not see that I could just easily walk through your imagination as anything else? I will bring you the exact right thoughts, words or feelings at any given moment, suited precisely to the purpose at hand, using one device or several. You will know these words are from me because you, of your own accord, have never spoken so clearly. Had you already spoken so clearly on these questions, you would not be asking them.
To whom does God communicate? Are there special people? Are these or are there special times? We should listen to God even when what's being said seems wrong?
Especially when it seems wrong. If you think you are right about everything, who needs to talk with God? Go ahead and act on all that you know. But notice that you've all been doing that since time began. And look at what shape the world is in. Clearly, you've missed something. Obviously, there is something you don't understand. That which you do understand most seem right to you, because right is a term you use to designate something with which you agree. What you've missed will, therefore, appear at first to be wrong. The only way to move forward on this is to ask yourself, what would happen if everything I thought was wrong was actually right? Even great scientists knows about this. When what a scientist does is not working, a scientist sets aside all of the assumptions and starts over. All great discoveries have been made from a willingness and ability not to be right. And that's what's needed here. You cannot know God until you've stopped telling yourself that you already know God. You cannot hear God until you stop thinking that you've already heard God. I cannot tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours.
But my truth about God comes from you.
Who said so?
Others.
What others?
Leaders, ministers, rabbis, priests, books, the Bible, for heaven's sake.
Those are not authoritative sources.
They aren't?
No.
Then what is?
Listen to your feelings. Listen to your highest thoughts. Listen to your experience. Whenever any of these differ from what you've been told by your teachers or read in your books, forget the words. Words are the least reliable purveyor of truth.
There is so much I want to say to you. So much I want to ask. I don't know where to begin. For instance, why is that you do not reveal yourself? If there really is a God, and you are it, why do you not reveal yourself in a way we can all understand?
I have done so over and over. I am doing so again right now.
No, I mean by a method of revelation that is incontrovertible, that cannot be denied.
Such as?
Such as appearing right now before my eyes.
I am doing so right now.
Where?
Everywhere you look.
No, I mean in an incontrovertible way, in a way no man could deny.
What way would that be? In what form or shape would you have me appear?
In the form or shape that you actually have.
That would be impossible, for I have no form or shape you understand. I could adopt a form or shape that you could understand, but then everyone would assume that what they have seen is the only form and shape of God, rather than the form or shape of God, one of many. People believe I am what they see me as rather than what they do not see me. But I am the great unseen, not what I cause myself to be in any particular moment. In a sense, I am what I am not. It is from the am notness that I come, and to it I always return. Yet when I come in one particular form or another, a form in which I think people can understand me, people assign me that form forevermore. And should I come in any other form, to any other people, the first say I did not appear to the second because I did not look to the second as I did to the first, nor say the same things. So how could it have been me? You see, then it matters not in what form or in what manner I reveal myself. Whatever manner I choose and whatever form I take, none will be incontrovertible.
But if you did something that would evidence the truth of who you are beyond doubt or question,
there are still those who would say, "It is of the devil or simply someone's imagination, or any cause other than me. If I revealed myself as God Almighty, King of heaven and earth, and moved mountains to prove it, there are others, those who would say it must have been Satan.